The notification sound from Kate's phone cut through our quiet Tuesday dinner like a knife through silence. She lunged for it with the desperation of a gambling addict reaching for dice, her face lighting up in a way I hadn't seen directed at me in months. That's when I knew my marriage was already over. "Who's texting at 8:30 on a Tuesday?" I asked, cutting into my overcooked salmon. "Work stuff," she muttered, but her thumbs were flying across the screen with the enthusiasm of a teenager sexting. I watched her reflection in the kitchen window behind her. Pure euphoria. The kind of expression you get when someone tells you they love you, not when your boss assigns overtime. 3 days later, she left her phone on the bathroom counter while showering. Kate never forgot her phone anywhere. Ever. It was like watching a master criminal deliberately leave the murder weapon on the kitchen table. I picked it up. The screen was still warm. The messages were all there, laid out like evidence at a crime scene. 6 months of planning secret getaways, comparing me to Dennis. Apparently I was emotionally unavailable, while he was adventurous and successful. The photos showed them in restaurants I couldn't afford, hotels I'd never heard of. Kate wore jewelry I'd never seen. But the text that stopped my heart was from 3 hours ago. "Maybe marriage isn't for me anymore. Robert feels more like a roommate than a husband." I screenshotted everything methodically, my IT training kicking in. Then I sent her a reply from my own phone. Agreed. The annulment papers are already filed. Within 30 seconds, my phone exploded. An annulment? On what grounds? Her text came through as I heard the shower turn off. "On grounds of turning my life into a reality show," I typed back. When Kate burst out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around her, water still dripping from her hair, her face was the color of fresh concrete. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she screamed. I held up her phone. 6 months, Kate. 6 months of Dennis and secret trips and laughing about what an idiot I am. The blood drained from her face. For the first time in our 7-year relationship, Kate had nothing to say. "I know about the jewelry, the restaurants, the weekend trips to Chicago. I know he bought you that bracelet you said came from your sister." She sat down hard on our bed. "Robert, I can explain." "Can you explain why you told him our bedroom was like sleeping next to a corpse? Because that one really stung." Kate started crying, but they were angry tears, not remorseful ones. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under at work. Dennis just listens to me." "Dennis listens to a lot of things, apparently, like how you fake orgasms with me but not with him." That hit her like a physical blow. "Good." I walked toward the door, then turned back. "Pack your stuff. You've got until Sunday." "Where am I supposed to go?" "Maybe Dennis has a spare room. I'm sure he's got a king-sized bed." Over the next 3 days, I watched Kate scramble to control the narrative. She called her friends, telling them I was having a breakdown and acting irrational. She tried to make me the villain in our story. That's when I decided to become one. My friend Peter came over Saturday night with pizza and a bottle of whiskey. Peter ran a small private investigation business, which made him useful for certain types of favors. "So she's really moving out?" he asked, surveying the boxes Kate had stacked by the door. "Monday morning. She's staying at Mary's until she figures things out." "Mary's the event planner friend?" "The same one who helped plan our wedding." I poured 2 glasses. The irony is delicious. Peter opened his laptop. "Want me to run a background check on Loverboy?" "Already did. Dennis Cartwright, 38, finance manager at Hartwell Industries. Divorced twice, currently paying alimony to both ex-wives. Lives in a downtown loft he can barely afford. Drives a BMW he leases. Sounds like a real catch." Kate thinks he's her ticket to a better life. She has no idea he's drowning in debt. I showed Peter the printouts I'd made, bank records, social media posts, employment history. All perfectly legal public information. "Jesus, Robert. You've turned into a stalker. I've turned into someone who pays attention to details." Over the next week, I established their patterns. Kate would meet Dennis for lunch every Tuesday and Thursday at Meridian Cafe on 5th Street. They had drinks Friday nights at the Crown, usually sitting at the same corner table. Saturday afternoons, they'd walk through Riverside Park, holding hands like teenagers. The surveillance was easy. Kate was so intoxicated by her new romance that she'd lost all sense of caution. Dennis was worse. He actually posted photos of them together on Instagram, tagging locations in real time. "These people are idiots," I told Peter over coffee Wednesday morning. "What's the plan?" I pulled out my notebook. Phase 1, psychological pressure, make them paranoid. Phase 2, social destruction. Phase 3, I smiled, face-to-face conversation about consequences. Thursday afternoon, I parked across from Meridian Cafe and watched them through the window. Kate was animated, gesturing wildly as she spoke. Dennis kept checking his watch. Even from a distance, I could see the tension. I sent Dennis a text from a burner phone. "Your secret isn't as secret as you think." Through the cafe window, I watched him go pale as he read the message. He showed Kate, who immediately started looking around frantically. I drove away before they could spot me, but the satisfaction was intoxicating. That night, Kate called me. "Someone's following us." "Following who?" "Dennis and me." Someone sent him a threatening text. "Maybe you should be more careful about where you're seen together." "This isn't funny, Robert." "You're right. Adultery rarely is." She hung up. I poured myself a celebration drink. Friday morning, I found Dennis's BMW parked outside his office building. The security cameras had blind spots. I'd checked. It took me 15 minutes to disable his car alarm, scratch cheater into his driver's side door, and superglue his door locks. From a coffee shop across the street, I watched Dennis discover the damage. He circled his car like a confused animal, pulling on door handles, cursing loud enough for half the parking lot to hear. The scratches were deep enough to require professional repair. The superglue meant he'd need a locksmith. I calculated the damage, at least $800, plus the humiliation of explaining the word cheater to his insurance company. That evening, Kate called again. "Dennis thinks you hired someone to vandalize his car." "Why would I waste money on that when I could just talk to his ex-wives directly?" The silence stretched for 10 seconds. "You wouldn't." "I already did." Turns out Dennis has some very interesting financial habits. His first ex-wife was particularly chatty about his gambling problem. "You're sick, Robert." "I'm thorough." There's a difference. Saturday, I escalated. Peter had given me Dennis's home address, and I spent the morning doing reconnaissance. Dennis lived in a trendy loft building with pretentious security and overpriced parking. I waited until he left for his date with Kate, then slipped a manila envelope under his door. Inside, printed screenshots of their text conversations, photos of them together, and a single line typed on plain paper. "Everyone knows now." When they returned from their date, I was parked across the street with a clear view of Dennis's lobby. Through the glass doors, I watched him find the envelope. His face went from confusion to terror in seconds flat. Kate grabbed the papers from his hands, reading frantically. Even from 50 yards away, I could see her hands shaking. My phone buzzed. "You're insane!" I responded with 3 photos, Kate and Dennis kissing outside the Crown, Kate wearing the mystery bracelet, Dennis's hand on Kate's thigh in the front seat of his BMW. Then I added, "Mary says hello." She's been very helpful. Kate tried calling me 6 times that night. I let every call go to voicemail. Tuesday, I knew Kate and Dennis would be at their usual lunch spot. I arrived 30 minutes early and took a table near the back, behind a support pillar. When they walked in, holding hands like lovesick teenagers, I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. They ordered their usual, Kate's quinoa salad, Dennis's overpriced burger. They talked in hushed tones, constantly looking over their shoulders. I sent Dennis another burner text. "Turn around." He spun in his chair, scanning the restaurant. His eyes passed right over me. I waved. The recognition hit him like a physical blow. He grabbed Kate's arm, pointed toward me. Kate's face went white. I stood up slowly, walking toward their table. The restaurant was crowded enough that they couldn't make a scene without creating spectacle. "Mind if I join you?" I sat down before they could answer. Great little place, very romantic. "Get away from us," Dennis said, but his voice cracked. "Relax, Dennis. We're just having lunch." I signaled the waitress. "Coffee, please." Kate was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. "What do you want?" "I want to discuss your relationship. See, I've been doing some research on both of you." I pulled out a folder and set it on the table. "Dennis, your second divorce was finalized 8 months ago. The settlement left you $30,000 in debt. You're 3 months behind on your BMW lease." Dennis's face was turning red. "You can't—" "And Kate, your Instagram posts from your girls' weekend in Chicago match perfectly with Dennis's credit card receipts from the Palmer House Hotel." Kate tried to grab the folder. I pulled it away. "The fascinating part is how you both bragged about this affair to different people." Kate told Mary that I was financially boring. Dennis told his buddy Tom at work that he was nailing a desperate housewife. "You're lying," Kate whispered. "Tom was very chatty when I bought him drinks last night. Apparently Dennis showed him some very intimate photos of you, Kate. Tom was impressed by your enthusiasm." Dennis shot up from his chair. "That's enough. Sit down, Dennis. We're not done talking." "Go to hell!" He started walking toward the exit. I caught up with him near the door. "Walk out now and I email those screenshots to your HR department. Your ex-wives already have copies." Dennis stopped walking. His face was pure fury, but underneath was something else. Fear. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand that actions have consequences." Kate appeared beside us. "Robert, stop this. People are staring. Let them stare. They're about to see something interesting." I opened the folder and pulled out printed screenshots of their most intimate text messages, the kind that would make their mothers cry. "Should I read these out loud? Or would you prefer I just post them on Facebook?" Dennis grabbed for the papers. I stepped back, and he stumbled into a waitress carrying a tray of drinks. Glass shattered across the floor, soaking Dennis's expensive shoes. The entire restaurant turned to look at us. "Careful, Dennis," I said loudly enough for half the room to hear. "You don't want to make another mess you can't clean up." I walked out, leaving them standing in spilled wine and broken glass, with 30 people staring at them. My phone was buzzing with angry texts before I reached my car. Mary betrayed Kate on Wednesday. She called me that morning, her voice nervous but excited. "Robert? It's Mary. I think we should talk. We met at a Starbucks downtown." Mary had always been the calculating type, but now she looked like someone who'd found an opportunity and decided to grab it. "Kate's been using me as her alibi for months," she said, stirring her latte with unnecessary force. "She told my husband I was helping her plan a surprise party for you. But you weren't. I was covering for her weekend trips with Dennis. She said you were controlling and paranoid." Mary leaned forward. "But after what happened at the restaurant, I started thinking maybe you aren't the problem." She pulled out her phone. "Kate sent me this last night." The text read, "Robert is mentally unstable. I think he might hurt someone. Dennis wants to call the police." "She's trying to make you look dangerous," Mary said. "What changed your mind about helping her?" Mary's smile was sharp. "Kate told me yesterday that once she divorces you, she'll finally be able to afford a social circle that matches her ambitions. Apparently, I don't make enough money to be her friend anymore." She slid a flash drive across the table. "Everything's on here. 6 months of her lies about where she was going, who she was with, what she really thinks about people." That night, I uploaded everything to a private folder and sent the link to 15 people. Kate's coworkers, her sister, 3 neighbors, Dennis's colleagues and his ex-wives. The subject line read, Kate Sullivan's true thoughts about everyone she knows. Friday evening, Kate's world began collapsing. Her sister called her screaming about the messages where Kate called their mother emotionally manipulative and desperate for attention. Kate's co-worker Lucy forwarded screenshots to half their office, including one where Kate described Lucy as fat and jealous of anyone prettier. Dennis's ex-wife Sandra called him to read aloud Kate's description of Dennis as a stepping stone to better opportunities, and good in bed but terrible with money. By Saturday morning, Kate was getting calls from people she hadn't spoken to in years, all wanting to discuss her opinions about their marriages, careers, and appearances. She showed up at my apartment Saturday afternoon, looking like she hadn't slept in days. "You destroyed my life," she said. "I shared your own words with people you talk about behind their backs. If that destroyed your life, maybe examine the words you use." Those were private conversations. With my wife. About my marriage. Nothing about this was private. Kate was shaking with rage. "Dennis wants to file a restraining order." "On what grounds?" "Everything I've done is legal. Public records, social media posts, conversations with willing participants." I shrugged. Maybe Dennis should focus on explaining to his boss why he's been bragging about his affair with a married woman. "You can't keep doing this." "Actually, I can. I'm just getting started." Sunday morning, I posted a public Facebook status. Sometimes life gives you clarity about who people really are. Grateful for the lesson, even though it hurt. Within hours, Kate's friends were commenting, asking what happened. Kate's own mother called, demanding answers about the disturbing messages she'd received. By Sunday evening, Kate's social media presence was a war zone of former friends airing grievances and demanding explanations. I chose Riverside Park for the final confrontation. Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock. The same place Kate and Dennis took their romantic walks every Saturday. I texted them both from different numbers. "Meet me at the south entrance of Riverside Park. Come alone. You have questions, I have answers." I arrived early and positioned myself on a bench near the walking path. The park was mostly empty, just a few joggers and dog walkers in the distance. Kate arrived first, looking over her shoulder every few steps. She was wearing sunglasses despite the overcast evening, probably hiding the bags under her eyes. Dennis showed up 5 minutes later, walking like he was approaching his own execution. "Sit down," I said when they reached my bench. "We're not sitting anywhere," Dennis said. "Say what you need to say." "I need to say a lot. You might want to get comfortable." Kate sat down first. Dennis remained standing, trying to look intimidating. "Here's what's going to happen," I began. "Kate, you're going to sign divorce papers acknowledging your affair. No alimony, no shared assets beyond what's legally required. Clean break." "I'm not signing anything," she said. "Yes, you are. Because if you don't, I'll send the video to your employer." Kate's face went white. "What video?" I pulled out my phone and showed them a clip I'd recorded through their hotel room window during last Saturday's rendezvous. Nothing explicit, but enough to prove they were together. "That's illegal," Dennis shouted. "It's from a public sidewalk, filming through uncovered windows." "Perfectly legal." I looked at Dennis. "Your turn. You're going to transfer to your company's Seattle office. I've already confirmed they have an opening." "Go to hell. Or I'll email your colleagues the screenshots where you describe Kate as your married piece of ass and bet your buddy Tom that you could nail her within a month." Dennis lunged at me. I stepped aside, letting him stumble into the bench. He caught himself, breathing hard. "You're both going to disappear from my life completely," I continued. "No contact, no mutual friends, no shared spaces. You wanted a new life together? Congratulations. Go build it somewhere else." Kate was crying now, real tears this time. "Robert, please. I made a mistake. You made hundreds of mistakes. For 6 months. Planned, calculated, deliberate mistakes. I loved you once. No, you loved the idea of me. The steady income, the predictable routine, the safe choice while you shopped for something better. Dennis was pacing now, his fists clenched. You think you're so smart, but you're just a pathetic loser who can't keep his wife satisfied. I stood up slowly. Dennis, in 3 days, your boss is going to receive documentation of every company resource you've used to facilitate this affair. Company phone for personal calls, expense account dinners you claimed were client meetings, sick days that coincided with hotel reservations. The color drained from his face. Your second divorce settlement requires you to report any changes in income to your ex-wife. Losing your job counts as a change. You can't prove any of that. I pulled out another folder. Receipts, call logs, email timestamps. Your company takes ethics violations seriously. Dennis made a sound like a wounded animal. But here's the beautiful part, I continued. Kate doesn't know about your financial problems, does she? She thinks you're her sugar daddy. Kate looked between us, confusion replacing anger. What financial problems? Dennis owes $47,000 in back alimony. His credit score is 420. The BMW gets repossessed next week. Kate stared at Dennis. That's not true. Dennis couldn't meet her eyes. Show her your bank statements, Dennis. Show her the collection notices. Kate stood up abruptly. Dennis? It's temporary, he said quickly. Just a cash flow issue. You told me you were buying a house. I am. Eventually. Kate's voice got very quiet. How much money do you actually have? Dennis didn't answer. Kate turned to me, and for a moment, I saw the woman I'd married 7 years ago, vulnerable, scared, realizing she'd made a terrible mistake. Robert, I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You meant every text message, every lie, every laugh at my expense. I gathered my folders and stood up. You two deserve each other. Enjoy your new life together. As I walked away, I heard Kate screaming at Dennis about money and lies. I heard Dennis yelling back about Kate's impossible expectations. I kept walking until their voices faded into the evening air. 3 weeks later, Kate moved to Portland with her sister. Dennis took a job in Cleveland after being quietly terminated for ethics violations. They never spoke again. Mary became my regular coffee companion, updating me on the social fallout. Kate's friend group had completely ostracized her after learning about their private conversations she'd shared. Dennis's ex-wives had successfully garnered his wages, leaving him virtually broke. I kept the house, the car, and my dignity. Most importantly, I kept the knowledge that I'd outplayed 2 people who thought they were smarter than me. Some people might call what I did cruel. I call it education. They learned that actions have consequences. I learned that I'm capable of things I never imagined.